welcome to today's Zoom session. Welcome, Rekha ma'am. It's always a pleasure having you here with us. Part 3, which is known as the discussion part. The questions are, what can people do on social media? Do younger and older people use the same social media platforms? Who spends more time on social media, older or younger people? Which social media websites do you use and why? How much time do you spend on social media sites? Why or why not? Is there anything you don't like about social media? Why? Are non-social media like television and newspapers still useful? So, Priscilla, are you ready for speaking? Priscilla?
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Okay, so what can people do on social media?
Social media has become very common nowadays. It has been used as a source of business. People can sell their items through the social media platforms, for example, Facebook, WhatsApp, and through different websites. People can also promote their businesses. This is like they can post a photo of the items they sell, and this can be very appealing to the customers and hence promoting their businesses.
Businesses. Okay? It's pronounced as businesses. Do younger and older people use the same social media platforms?
Social media, as I have said, it has become very common in the recent past. So younger and old people have used internet widely, but we have young people mostly using the internet. Nowadays in colleges, we have training for information communication technology, whereby most people explore the internet. And so young people are more exposed to the internet as compared to the old people. However, we have old people who are also very conversant with smartphones and can use many applications comfortably.
Who spends more time on social media, older or younger people?
Younger people, especially because they are doing office jobs, white collar jobs. I tend to think that they use social media more as compared to older people. Older people, especially the geriatrics, have less time. Their vision is already compromised, so they always complain of difficulties in visualizing small numbers and very bright colors on the internet. So I tend to think that younger people are more exposed to the social media.
Which social media websites do you use and why?
Most of the websites that I use are the medical websites. For example, the nursing websites. Now that I'm a nurse, I use the WebMed, whereby we have a lot of information concerning care of patients, finding out different diagnoses for patients and ways of managing these problems. This one has been used mostly to create information and the changing currents in management of patients.
How much time do you spend on social media sites? If, why, say why. If, why not, say why not.
Honestly, I don't spend a lot of time on social media. This is because most of the time I'm occupied with my job in the hospital, except for a few times when I want to look up something on the internet, maybe to clarify some medication or some problem with the patient. The other time maybe when I use the internet is in the evening after work, when I'm very exhausted, I want to relax and I want to keep myself at par with what is happening. So I normally Google on the internet to update myself and know what is new.
Is there anything you don't like about social media and why?
There are so many things I really don't like on the social media. This is because we have a lot of information that is not very healthy. For example, we have conmen on the social media who post items for sale, while in real sense they want to collect money. Fraud. So this is not healthy. There's also information posted on the social media that is very wrong and very distorted. So some people tend to be convinced that this is real. For example, in terms of businesses, some people tend to send money through their phones to buy items that are actually not sold honestly.
Are non-social media like television and newspapers still useful?
Since time immemorial, we have had television and newspapers. Even before we had the internet. So television and newspapers have served a very great purpose in the lives of many people. This is in terms of updating them on current issues, passing very important information, for example, what is happening in the country, and giving information like advertisement for jobs for future reference. For example, newspapers can be kept, for example, the image of the first president, for example, in Kenya. We can remind our children that this was the first president, followed by this president. So this one becomes a very important source of information and knowledge to the newer generation. Also in the television, we have information relayed immediately without delays. Unlike on the social media, whereby it can take long before it is uploaded and sent to the internet for people to see.
It can take longer to be uploaded, and the word is pronounced as fraud. But I have Rekha ma'am here with us, and she's going to comment on your speaking.
I've made a note of a few things. First thing is, when we are trying to view points, lexical resource, everything is absolutely fine and in place there. What we could, tweak is, we will avoid repeating the question statement at the end. That will boost your score. So first thing. Next thing, we will have similar words being used from the question statement. Whatever words we have, we will not repeat the same thing. That one. And the last one that I have observed is, whatever point you have, you could be explaining that, and example could be probably in 1 or 2 sentences, because your explanation to convince is more important than stating an example. Example might, because there is a provision, you are expected to answer the question in 5. However, we will reduce the number of sentences when it comes to stating an example.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, we have Lovepreet. Lovepreet, are you ready for speaking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What can people do on social media?
Well, people can do a lot of different things on social media.
Social media? Lovepreet, it's social, not social, but social media.
Social media.
Social. Okay, continue.
Okay, well, people can in contact with their loved ones, and also they can use the social media apps for different purpose, educational purpose as well as entertainment. In today's time, many businessmen do advertise their products through social media apps. Well, in the COVID-19 situation, many works were done by only social media apps.
Do younger and older people use the same social media platforms?
Well, I don't think that young people as well as older people use same kind of apps, but mostly young people prefer to use newer ones apps such as Instagram, Twitter as well as TikTok. While on the other hand, the older people like to use older apps which they always rely on. True things such as YouTube as well as WhatsApp, and the young people always try to do new activities on new apps.
YouTube, that's YouTube. Okay, so who spends more time on social media, older or younger people?
I think in today's time, the older people have started to spend more time on social media, but they spend their more time on social media because they are very lonely, because their children are very busy in their jobs as well as work. When they feel bored, they like to spend their time to keep in touch with their friends and relatives.
Which social media websites do you use and why?
As I am a student, mostly I prefer to use educational apps which help me a lot in my academic study, as well as I like to I use a lot of other apps such as Instagram, Twitter, so that I can keep in touch with my kith and kins, as well as I do fun. I do a lot of fun on these apps.
How much time do you spend on social media sites? Why or why not?
On an average, mostly I spend 2 hours on my educational apps, which I always doing after my classes. But on other apps, which I do for fun and entertainment purpose, I spend in an hour 2 or 3 times I go on these apps and like to listen to music and use them. Mostly in a day, I often use 5 hours on my social media apps.
5 hours. Hours, okay. Is there anything you don't like about social media and why?
Actually, there are two things which I don't like about social media. First is it is very time consuming. Being a student, it is very necessary for me to spend time on my studies as well as some works. But sometimes I started to do fun on the social media apps. I consumes a lot of time, as well as there are a lot of fake news on the social media which viral in a few minutes. That is very dangerous for the people as well mentally as well as socially.
Are non-social media like television and newspapers still useful?
Actually, the popularity of these non-social medias declined a little, but the use is not completely. The use is still useful. These are very still useful because these are most reliable for the true stories as the news. Because in today's time, mostly all the social media apps, everyone can post anything, and they may be fake, and people get disturbed from these things. So I think that television and newspaper are still very useful for us.
Okay, Lovepreet, you need to concentrate on pronunciation. Lots of words you mispronounce, so I will recommend that you could use Google.
Yes, ma'am.
Where you can get the pronunciation of the words or words correctly. But I have Rekha ma'am here with me and she will comment on your speaking.
Yes, dear. So, yes, we have seen some, noticeable improvement in your speaking, let me tell you. In terms of lexical resource, yes, you have been able to, have some really good words. But then, a little more, effort we would request. Yes, as ma'am mentioned, we could, probably have a little more time spent on the pronunciation part. And then we would avoid, the contracted, or we could call it as abbreviations and acronyms in speaking should be avoided there. Speaking or writing for that matter. Like when I say apps, no, we will use the expanded form applications instead. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
And then we will, not repeat. Just 1 or 2 questions, you repeated the question statement. So we will avoid that as well, dear. And this word called fun was used, number of times. So we have discussed as well. That's a very common word. Could we have something nice, something standardized, and have at least 2 or 3 words handy, so that you could be using the same word, or the similar word in different scenarios there, which again means the same. Okay? I will post some of the similar words list today in the group as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes, you can do some of the similar words instead of they have to repeat just one word several times. Okay, so we have Priscilla. Are you ready for speaking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Priscilla, what can people do on social media?
Well, there are numerous things that individuals can do on social media. For instance, people can communicate with their acquaintances through various social media apps. Some people also use for educational purpose and to also advertise their businesses. For instance, my sister used to display some of her goods that she sells on the social media app in order to appeal it to people for them to patronize.
Okay, so do younger and older people use the same social media platforms?
No, the youngsters and the elderly does not use the same
youngsters and the elderly don't.
The youngsters and the elderly don't use the same social media apps. The youth are conversant with the newer apps, and those apps for games and entertainment, such as the Instagram and the WhatsApp. And mostly the aged also prefer to utilize apps that they can use it to stay in contact with their family members, such as the WhatsApp and the Facebook apps.
Who spends more time on social media, older or younger people?
Personally, I believe the younger people utilize most ample of their time using some social media apps, because they normally use it for entertainment, they use it for fun, and the elderly too see it as a waste of time, so they don't really channel most of their time using those apps.
Which social media websites do you use and why?
I've downloaded a lot of social media apps such as the WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, the Twitter on my mobile phone, and I normally use them to stay in contact with my friends and close relatives. Sometimes too, I use it to keep myself abreast with the latest news that is trending online.
How much time do you spend on social media sites? If why, say why. If not, say why not.
Frankly speaking, I don't spend a lot of time using various social media apps, as I have a very busy work schedule. So I normally use those apps in the evening when I'm done with all my household works and I'm about to sleep. I just browse through those apps to reply some messages and also text messages to my friends and relatives.
Is there anything you don't like about social media? Why?
Yes, there are two things that I detest about social media apps, because it can cause addiction. It's very time wasting, and you can spend your time using those apps instead of channel those precious time doing something that could be profitable. Aside that too, people can easily invade your privacy. Sometimes some people can DM or chat you privately, but you might not know those people.
Are non-social media like television and newspapers still useful?
Yes, television and newspapers have been used since ages, and they've really helped us before the innovation of those social media apps. For instance, through television, we get updated with news. We can also watch movies and other things, comedy shows through television. And with newspapers too, they keep us abreast with the latest trending news that is going around in the world. And what is interesting about newspaper is that you can keep it for a very long time. But then with the social media apps, you cannot keep the information. Sometimes they update it and it can be erased forever.
Okay, thank you so much, Priscilla. Okay, so Rekha ma'am, please comment on Priscilla's speaking.
Yes, Priscilla, your speaking is good. You are able to use good content, with relevant examples. So only thing we need to work on is, we have been repeating question statements. We will completely avoid that, and we will have similar words when we feel the need to repeat words. So these two, if you could work on, yes, you will also be able to get a very good score.
All right, mom. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Priscilla, thanks.
So today I felt the lexical resource, the confidence that you had in your tone, voice modulation, and the content, in fact, was great. So very nice. Way to go. You have put in, some effort in learning as well, so which is appreciable. So I only feel that, we have used some words, repeated few words. So only that if you could, replace, like most of the younger generation are busy. This word was repeated. Instead of busy, we could say, time constraint probably. And unlike word was repeated, except that question words and few questions were repeated. So if you could take care of that, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, please, I'm ready for speaking.
Okay. What can people do on social media?
Enormously. Many people can do many things on social media. One of it is that one can advertise his or a product on social media, and also we can use this app as an educational tool. And also, if anyone don't know anything about the app, one can learn and do so many things at the social media.
Do younger and older people use the same social media platforms?
Well, I think in other way, I think yes, and on the other hand, I would say no. The reason I'm saying this is that Depending on the work schedules of the youngsters and the adults, the youngsters of these days use the social app in terms of learning, advertising, as I aforementioned, and also for entertainment in order to do their things. And also as we have so many accounts like the Twitter and then the TikTok and other stuff, they have much in-depth knowledge about them, so they follow those accounts to do whatever they want and get profitable outcomes from that. So I can say that younger people spend more time on social media than the adults.
What social media websites do you use and why?
I follow so many accounts. As I said earlier, the one that I like most is the YouTube. Why am I saying this? The YouTube helped me in solving my academic problems, especially when solving the Ielts. When I search in or I Google in for anything that I want to learn, it's very convenient and very safe, faster, and also it's very affordable for me to use. So the reason I like that website most is that it's easily affordable and you use less bundle.
How much time do you spend on social media sites?
So far as I'm a midwife and our work is based on practicals, I can say I use half of my day. I use half of my day to spend on social media.
And you have to say why. You have to support your answer with why. Why you spend so much time on social media?
The reason why I spend much time on social media, like on the YouTube, is that so far as I'm a midwife, our work is based on practical aspects. So anything that confuses my mind or is so ambiguous, I go to this online or the internet to search for clarification. And for this, it helps me a lot to get whatever that I want.
Is there anything you don't like about social media and why?
Yeah, actually, there are so many things that I don't like about social media. One of these things is that there are more scammers on social media. So if you have any link and you are not careful, these scammers can fraud or do anything that will not be convenient to you. Especially my sister had such an incident that some of the scammers introduced themselves that they are one of the celebrities, and eventually they embezzled all the account that she has in his all the money that she has in her account. So eventually it ended in the court premises. And the one thing that I dislike most is that it's time wasting, but if it's very useful to you, I think you must appreciate it.
Okay, so are non-social media like television and newspapers still useful?
Yes, please. They are very useful nowadays or in our primitive days, because when social media was not available, medias like the television and the newspaper were so much significant to our primitive days and even today, because the newspaper can tell us everything which is going around the world, and it can be there for a remembrance. And also the television, anything that anything that we've heard and also we've not had a view of it, the television can serve as a source of viewing the things that we want, and it can be there for remembrance. But as for the social media, anything that is posted there, we have blockers that can erase the thing from the system.
Okay, thank you so much. And I have Rekha ma'am with me.
Yes, dear. Now, coming to speaking, let's avoid using general statements or phrases like we could do whatever we want. There are so many things that we could do over the internet. We will have specific statements or phrases instead. Alright? And then let's avoid using the contracted form or the abbreviations like apps, info. We will have the expanded form like application, information. And let's avoid repeating question statements, dear. Okay? That's all. All the best.